Today, we're breaking down Bitcoin versus its forks, how splits shape crypto history, simplified. Welcome to Bitcoin Bytes HQ, simple Bitcoin explainers. This is educational content only, not financial advice. Let's go. Imagine two groups building a shared road. Some want it narrow and smooth, so maintenance is easier, while others want it wide, so more cars can travel at once. When they can't agree, they build two separate roads. This is roughly what happened in Bitcoin's history. Different visions for scaling led to a split. Understanding this helps you see why Bitcoin's design choices matter to everyday people who want a store of value, reliable money, and payment systems. To fully understand this story, we need to review a few basic ideas. First, Bitcoin, BTC, is a system that lets people move and store value without relying on banks or governments. Think of it as a shared digital ledger or notebook that many computers around the world check and update together. Every transaction is recorded in blocks. All these blocks chained together form a blockchain, like stacking pages in a public ledger. In 2017, a big question emerged. Bitcoin was getting popular, and its shared ledger got busy. With more use, people were paying higher fees and waiting longer for confirmations. Some in the community wanted to let each block hold more transactions to make Bitcoin feel smoother, like widening a hallway so more people can walk through at once. Others worried that making blocks bigger would make the network harder to run for everyday users, concentrating power among a few. So, the block size debate was essentially a disagreement about whether to keep things smaller and compact or bigger and more spacious. This disagreement couldn't be resolved within the same rules. The result was a hard fork, a split where the software rules diverge and two separate systems continue on their own. On August 1st, 2017, the Bitcoin network split into two. The original chain stayed with its rules, and a new chain called Bitcoin Cash, BCH, was born. People who held Bitcoin before the split automatically held an equal amount of Bitcoin Cash afterwards. BCH increased the block size so each block could hold more transaction data, like expanding that hallway for bigger traffic. BCH supporters saw Bitcoin's growth as proof that larger blocks could help more everyday payments happen directly on-chain. Some people within the Bitcoin Cash community then disagreed about how large those blocks should be or how the rules should evolve. That disagreement led in November 2018 to another hard fork, splitting Bitcoin Cash into its own variants, most notably Bitcoin SV, short for Satoshi Vision, which aimed to raise block sizes even further and follow their interpretation of the original Bitcoin design. Other forks exist as well. Bitcoin Gold, for example, changed the mining algorithm to let more ordinary computers participate instead of specialized mining hardware. There are hundreds of forks listed on Wikipedia or resources like forkdrop.io. Most of them are experiments or minor variations, but the main forks like BCH, BSV, and BTG are notable because they attracted real users and community attention. This long tail of forks shows that Bitcoin's open-source nature allows anyone to try new rules, yet only those with voluntary support gain lasting relevance. Throughout all of this, what's important to see is that voluntary participation is what keeps these systems alive. No central authority tells miners or users which chain to choose. It's a bit like choosing public infrastructure. People opt for roads or systems that meet their needs best, and the one with the widest voluntary support continues to be used most. Now that we understand why Bitcoin split and how different chains emerged, let's clear up some common misunderstandings. A common misunderstanding is thinking these forks were hostile takeovers. They weren't coups. They were choices. When people can't agree on shared rules, they build a new version and let the free market of users and service providers decide which serves them best. Another myth is that BCH or BSV are the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin is defined by its network of users, developers, and the consensus rules they choose. The original Bitcoin chain, with the smaller blocks and second-layer solutions, has attracted the broadest ecosystem of wallets, services, institutional support, and a huge voluntary community. That's not mandated. It's the result of collective choice and network effect. Over time, BTC has attracted the largest community, the most wallets, services, and businesses, and the highest market capitalization. That doesn't mean the other forks are wrong, but it does show that more people voluntarily chose BTC over BCH, BSV, BTG, and the hundreds of other forks. It's a bit like two competing roads. One may be newer or wider, but if most drivers still use the original road, it naturally becomes the main route. That's what's happening with BTC. Its adoption drives its position. When I first started learning this, I thought forks were bad or fracturing. What I needed to understand was that a fork is simply a divergence in rules and values, like two groups building different tools for different needs. Neither is inherently right or wrong, but one may naturally attract more usage when its rule set fits more people. Another insight is the role of network effects. Bitcoin isn't just a technology, it's a social system. The more people, businesses, and developers choose it, the more useful it becomes. This reinforces its position as the main chain because adoption itself creates value. Think of it like a messaging app. The one everyone uses becomes the standard, not because of rules, but because people want to connect with the largest network. Security is another factor. BTC's approach, smaller blocks plus second-layer solutions, allows more people to run nodes, which makes the network more decentralized and harder to attack. Other forks might prioritize transaction capacity, but decentralization can be slightly weaker if only large operators can maintain the network. Users tend to weigh these trade-offs voluntarily. Let's restate these ideas in simple terms. Bitcoin's community faced a scaling problem. Some saw bigger blocks as a solution. Others saw second-layer solutions and careful decentralization as better for long-term security. They couldn't agree, so they split the code and users chose where they wanted to participate. Over time, as more individuals, businesses, and even institutions build on Bitcoin's base layer and second layers, the idea of widespread adoption, sometimes called hyper-Bitcoinization, becomes about real usage and trust, not slogans. As adoption grows, real-world volatility tends to calm, much like how a bigger liquid market smooths price movement. And as people voluntarily choose Bitcoin's tools that best meet their needs, the ecosystem evolves but always remains rooted in the basic idea: people verifying their own transactions, choosing their own rules, and building tools that help them coordinate value exchange. A tiny next step you can take is simply to observe these networks, explore a block explorer, or watch how different forks evolve over time. You can notice which chains gain traction and which fade, helping you understand how voluntary adoption and network effects shape real-world outcomes. Learning through observation builds understanding without needing to buy anything. That's Bitcoin versus its forks: how splits shape crypto history, simplified. If this helped, like, share, and subscribe for more Bitcoin explainers. Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one. Thanks.